I'm Allendale Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at your midday weather update. Latest surface analysis shows the frontal boundary that we saw firing off a bunch of action this morning honestly hasn't moved much, running from Flint, Michigan, through Chicago, through the Quad Cities, back down through northern Missouri, just south of Kansas City, and through southeast Kansas, ending up back in western Oklahoma and actually near Amarillo, Texas. All the action with this front is in advance of it now, running from southern Indiana across extreme southern Illinois through southern Missouri into Arkansas and northeastern Oklahoma. Still plenty of chance for things to fire off along this front this afternoon. Places that I would look at being in the line of fire: Ohio, central southern Indiana, and probably down close to the Ohio River Valley then, and lower Mississippi River Delta. I don't think this is going to be a situation where we're looking for major harvest delays in the lower Delta, though. If we see harvest delays anywhere, we're talking northeastern parts of Oklahoma and into Arkansas. And you know what? The best harvest so far has not made it quite that far north. We've seen harvest in eastern Kansas, of course, and a little bit in parts of Missouri, but generally speaking, the most hot and heavy harvest is farther south. So I don't think the rains in this area are going to be causing some problems there as we go forward. Latest model runs into us. What do they show? I'm sure people are going to be chomping at the bit on this, and I guess before we run into the model runs completely, we need to first say, if you read the morning outlook this morning online on Allendale's website, you would not be surprised to learn that we now have another tropical storm in the western Gulf. That tropical depression, which was a marginal depression this morning anyway, lo and behold, has been named a tropical storm. We have Tropical Storm Dolly. It'll be moving straight west into the Mexican coastline areas within the next 24 hours or so. Moisture seems to want to stay south of Texas, probably will not turn north. You would not be surprised on this because we talked this morning in our online write-up about how we figured they'd do something like this, and you've got to take a stab at naming some marginal storms and doing things like that if you want to verify your own forecast for the number of storms that you put out early in the year like the National Hurricane Center does. So no surprise there. Not really a big event, not an issue for anything agriculturally, but you may notice that as you flip on the TV or look at your radar screens across the country later this afternoon. Now back to the models. Again, not a whole lot of major change in here short term. Going to be watching the Central Plains very closely overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. We're expecting some scattered showers and thunderstorms to fire off in parts of Kansas. These will probably be an offshoot of some of the lingering boundary that's sitting there now, and this will likely fuel some action moving into the western Corn Belt then through the day tomorrow. Pretty light, pretty scattered, but there will be something around. Overall, we're actually looking for our next front to sweep through the Corn Belt as we go through the end of this week. I'm specifically looking at the second half of the week from tomorrow night through Thursday and through Friday. Looks like we still have chance in there for half to 1 inch rainfall totals with a coverage area of about 60 to 70%. I do see some heavier rains up in the Great Lakes region, but most of that's going to be outside of where the heaviest corn and soybean production is. So we're just going to kind of let that pass right now. But for the heart of the Corn Belt, half to 1 inch coverage, about 60 to 70% or so, everything done by the time we get into probably Saturday morning to midday. That'll kick off then several days of drier weather with nice high pressure in control, probably a little cooler as well. No concern about that cool air, though, in terms of causing any major problems. The next frontal boundary looking like it wants to work its way through still, probably starting late Monday night, Tuesday of next week. We'll see some action pushing into western Iowa, into Minnesota, and then basically from Tuesday right on through Friday, we're going to be seeing a couple of waves of moisture move through with that front. All told, I like half to 2 inch rainfall totals, a lot of it being right in the middle there, right around an inch. And then we're going to look at coverage probably about 80 to maybe 90% of the region as we go through next week. We'll follow that up with some drier weather, although I will say that the latest model run tries to keep lingering moisture around in that in-between time period. I'm looking for dry air to be in basically from Sunday the 14th through the 15th and 16th. I will point out that this morning's model run is trying to put more moisture in there. So the model run is wetter. My forecast, though, not changing. I think with the way that we have this pattern setting up, we are in the kind of setup where we have a front come through. It comes through nice and clean. We get a clean break in the action. Boom. We wait for a day or two and we get another front. This is not one of those stagnating zonal flow patterns. All right, so I don't like this latest model run. We're throwing it out there just so you know what others may be talking about, but our official forecast is not going to change. We're looking for a drier window in there for that weekend. Then as we go longer term into the 17th, 18th, that time frame in there, yes, Another front sweeping through from northwest to southeast. Looks like it may have some cooler air behind it. This is a scenario where I am concerned maybe about some frost up in the Canadian prairies, for example. Central Saskatchewan, central Manitoba. But then again, the southern third of the Canadian prairies is where the best crops are at. That's where we have to really monitor the frost risk. I think they escape there. But it tells you there is some cooler air behind that front coming across the United States for the 17th, 18th. So we'll watch that very, very closely. We also want to continue to point out what the models are showing as being a very active Caribbean Gulf of Mexico area with regard to tropical action. The latest one actually showing a monster storm coming ashore close to where Dolly is right now. But there's no other model that's jumping on board this. So if you're looking at this and saying, wow, Ryan, a lot of moisture may be coming up from the southern United States, you know what? I'm throwing this out. It's not right. This is not a good solution at this point. Give me another model that shows this. Maybe we'll jump on it there. But right now, it does not look like this is going to be an issue. And that, too, is one of the reasons why I just don't like that persistent moisture solution that's being shown right now across the Corn Belt. So overall, our forecast doesn't change. Models are a little bit wetter at midday for that intermediate and extended forecast period. Right now, we're discounting that. We want some confirming model runs that go back and either show this change or revert back to the pattern that we saw develop over the weekend. If you've got any questions about the weather in the meantime, give us a shout here at Allendale. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin.